Hey everyone, welcome back to RetroBreak. I actually went to the London gaming market last weekend and I went there with a very specific list of games that I wanted to buy at the show. And for the first few hours I was walking around and actually getting quite disappointed because I couldn't find any of the games that were on my list. I had a range of very rare and interesting Game Boy Color games that I was aiming to get in order to make some future videos, but as I was looking around the show, there were a lot of Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, as you can see from the footage over the video right now. But unfortunately I couldn't find anything on my particular wish list. So I was actually beginning to feel a little bit down about the whole experience, and because of the way the trains are running at the minute I can't even get to the show on the day, so I had to go up the day before and get a hotel for the night, so it cost me well over £100 just to get to the event, so to leave empty-handed would have been very disappointing for me. Well, I'm happy to say that after a little break at lunch, I went back in and I found some incredible purchases that I'm about to show you right now. So let's get started with the first thing that's right here in the middle of the desk. This is something that I've been looking for a long time. I'm sure a few of you know what this is, but probably the majority of you have never heard of this console before. This is the 3DO. This is actually the Panasonic version. So in a nutshell, and this is kind of confusing and I want to make a full video just on this in the future, but the idea behind the 3DO in the first place came from someone who used to run EA, I believe anyway. So he left and decided to create this business where he would actually license out the design for the system to different companies like Panasonic in order for them to make the console itself. Kind of like how VCRs and DVDs and DVD players and things like that back in the day worked. So this is the Panasonic 3DO. I got the console here off a fellow YouTuber called Ed Hunts, so I was introduced to him at the show as well, so thank you so much Ed. He did me a really great deal on this, and his channel looks really cool too, so definitely check him out. But as well as the console, it also came with a bunch of games and a bunch of demo discs as well. So I've got two different demo discs right here. I have this real 3DO Panasonic sampler CD, and I have this other one, 3DO Interactive. And let me tell you, it is a mixed bag of quality on these discs here, but it's very interesting to see what people were thinking the future of gaming was going to be back then. So I'll save these for a future video, but my god, you are in for a treat if you enjoy extremely cringy mid-90s gaming content, so definitely look forward to that one. There's this one here called Pebble Beach Golf Links, which is a very straightforward and very dull golfing game made by T&E Soft, who actually made a really cool 3D shoot 'em up on the Virtual Boy of all things. So interesting to have that regardless of the quality. And the other one of very average quality is this game here called Total Eclipse by Crystal Dynamics. Yes, the same team that went on to make Tomb Raider. They were also one of the main companies around the 3DO era as well, and another game they made for the 3DO was a game called Gex, which of course went on to span many future games in the series as well, and it's actually a really fun game. I definitely had a lot more fun playing this than I did Total Eclipse, which was actually incredibly dull, despite the fact that it looks really cool. I really love the aesthetic of this, and there's just bullets flying around everywhere, but the gameplay could not be more boring if they tried. Literally, you can just fly in a straight line and nothing happens for like 10 minutes. And the final game that I got for the 3DO, and actually another great title, this is Road Rash, and I was very impressed when I booted this one up. It's extremely smooth, and the controls just feel fantastic too. I love the fact that you can use the L and R buttons to slightly lean into the corners as well as using the D-pad to do tighter turns, so it feels fantastic, and it's definitely one of the best entries in that series too. So, kind of mixed feelings about the 3DO as it is at the minute, but I'm definitely looking to get more games for the system, so please let me know down in the comments below what games you recommend for the system and whether you'd like me to do a full video about the history and some of the best games for the system in the future too. I'm really interested in getting into it in more detail. Now before we move on to some of the more bigger purchases, let's check out some of the smaller games that I got. So I got two PS1 games off a recommendation from a friend. There is this one here called Silent Bomber, which I believe, if he's correct in this is actually made by the studio that went on to become Platinum Games, so I'm really curious to see what this one's like. And the next game here is a game called C12 Final Resistance, and this is another top-down action shooting game as well, so really looking forward to checking both of those out. And another kind of cheap game that I picked up for my Game Boy Color video, this is one of the Tomb Raider games. This one is called Tomb Raider Curse of the Sword, and I've heard that the GBC Tomb Raider games are really good, so again looking forward to checking that one out too. Now let's take a look at a few more Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. I didn't actually get these from the show itself, but I've had them sat on the shelf for a while, and I haven't showed them on the channel before either, so let's just pretend that I picked them up from the gaming market. So the first one is Deja Vu 1 and 2, which is a really interesting remake of a set of NES kind of visual novel style games, or kind of point and click adventure games. Console point and click adventures, if you will, so really curious to see how this plays on the Game Boy Color. I'm sure it's very unforgiving and very confusing for someone who's not a huge fan of this style of game, but it's definitely one of the most interesting games on the system for sure. And another game that I've been after for a long time, and I found it for a really good price, this is Daikatana for the Game Boy Color. This is apparently the better version of the game. I've never played either version before, but basically think of a more grown-up version of The Legend of Zelda from what I know, so really excited to give this one a try, and I'll probably end up streaming this one as well, so check out Twitch if you want to see me playing through this game in the near future. And this next game I picked up just because I hadn't got the box for it already. This is Painter, which is one of the Rocket games that Daytel licensed. If you're interested in hearing the backstory about these games, and it is a fascinating story, then you can check out the video that I did a few years ago on the topic. I'll put a link down in the description below, but these games are fantastic. Well, they're fantastic for historical reasons. They're not the best games ever, but this one is the best of the bunch that they've released, so I'm very happy to finally have the box for this one. And finally, a game called Monster Rancher Explorer, which is definitely not what you think the game would be. You would expect it to be a Pokemon-style RPG, but what this game actually is a Game Boy Color version of the classic puzzle game Solomon's Key, which was one of my favourite games on the NES. So to have a Game Boy Color version and to have it with this kind of brand new aesthetic, and I just love the graphics and the gameplay, it's just a fantastic game, and the box that I got in here is fantastic quality as well. So really happy to have all of those for my Game Boy Color collection. And some more Game Boy stuff, and this was from my friend Quang, who had a stall at the event, and he actually gave me this for free, and I didn't look at what it was during the show, but when I got home I opened it up and I was very happy to find this Game Boy pouch slash bag slash hook thing here, which is really cool, so very happy to have that. Thank you so much, Quang. And also from his table, unfortunately I forgot to get any video or photo of the table itself, but I also picked this up, which is something that I've been very curious about getting for a while. This is Game Boy Wars Turbo. So this is a game that Hudson made for Nintendo using the Game Boy Wars line, and I love the little tin that it comes in. And this is in mint condition with the little instruction booklet in there as well, and with the game right there too, and a little bit of foam that just fell out as well. So really looking forward to checking this out, and I have been planning to do a video on the Game Boy and Famicom Wars series for a long time now, so this is definitely going to be useful on the channel in the future. So once again, as always, thank you so much, Quang, for just being a great friend and for having some really cool stuff at the show as well. Now, we'll come back to these Switch games in just a minute, and that book as well. Let's get back to some of the stuff from the show itself, and I've got something very exciting in here. This was definitely the most expensive purchase that I made at the show, but also one of the most interesting purchases, and definitely something that I'm so happy to add to my collection after all these years. And again, this is something that I wanted for a video that I've got planned. This is, let's just put that ball wrap down there for a second. This is the very first Game & Watch that was ever made. It is complete, in box, almost immaculate condition, considering the age. It's from 1980. To have a few scuffs on the side really doesn't matter that much at all. So super happy to have this. It's even got the original styrofoam insert right there. There it is. It was quite expensive. I did actually buy this off my friend who runs Games You Loved, Chris Hill. So thank you so much, Chris, and it's almost his birthday, so happy birthday as well. Here it is. Incredibly happy to add this to my collection. I need to get some watch batteries for it, but I'm definitely going to do a video on this game in the future, and on Nintendo's history with handheld video games as well, because this was the first one that they ever made, and it is a really interesting piece to add to the collection. So I need to find a way to safely store it, because I'm very scared of even touching it because those cardboard flaps on the box are so flimsy. I'm so scared, but I'm also extremely happy to add this to my collection. So thank you so much, and you'll definitely be seeing more of this in the future on the channel. Now for some books and magazines, and I was super excited to meet the person who ran this stall again because I'm a huge fan of his work. He actually wrote the Hyperplay fanzines, which I talked about on this channel many years ago, like way back in like 2017 or something.
Hyperplay RPG, Blast from the Past, Retro RPG magazine, imprint only, bringing back the love of Superplay, Mean Machines game fan. Basically, if you love games, especially RPGs, you need Hyperplay RPG. Get it from hyperplayrpg.com.
To bump into him again at the show was fantastic, and he's been hard at work with some other projects since then. This is the most recent one, and I just love the concept of this. This is the RPG Fan Review Card Collection. So if you've ever seen RPG Fan on Twitter or Instagram or any of their social medias or their website over the years, you will have seen these really nice review cards at the end of each review and also shared on Twitter. And this book is fantastic. It's got 296 different pages, and each of them contains a different RPG, complete with pros and cons and a description about each game and a bunch of screenshots and a review score as well. So the fact that he decided to turn it into a book and work with RPG Fan on this collection is just fantastic. It's not actually out just yet. They're actually going to be running a Kickstarter soon, so again, I'll put a link in the description down below if you want to check the Kickstarter out and get your hands on a copy of this fantastic collection. But I just love the concept, and I can't wait to see him do more of this style of thing in the future. And another thing, very similar, this is also taken from some online resources and turned into a physical collection. This is actually a guide to understanding Xenosaga. And it's not a game that I've actually played, and he gave me this one for free just to have a look inside and see what he's working on. So it's actually really interesting. I don't know whether I should read this before playing the game or not, but it's definitely a really cool collector's item if you are into the series. It goes into loads of detail. It looks like all the different characters and the world building behind everything. There's even their own timeline of how the universe was created and stuff, so plenty to sink your teeth into if you're into Xenosaga. And finally, at his stall as well, he was also selling a bunch of Superplay magazines, which of course were the inspiration for his own fanzine. And I've always wanted to try and get a set of all the Superplay magazines, so I picked up 3. I picked up this one here, and the reason I picked this one up is because it's actually got this little Guide to Japan leaflet that's still stuck on the front all these years later. And Superplay is definitely one of my favourite magazines. I've got all of them digitally on my iPad, but I would love to try and get physical collections for all of them as well. I just love the layouts, I love how colourful it is, and the writing style is so fun as well. They really make it interesting to read about the games. So that issue was cool, but I also picked up 2 more, and these ones were a little bit more expensive for one very good reason. Not only are they all in pristine condition, but these ones actually have the original posters inside as well, which was incredibly exciting, complete with some amazing artwork from Will Overton, who is a very famous artist in the gaming community. There we go. How cool is that? Will it fit on the camera? Just about, without the glare. There we go. That's just amazing. I would love to maybe get that framed one day and get it put up somewhere if I can find the space. And again, in this issue here, there's another poster, and I haven't actually looked at what this one is yet, so let's unfold this very carefully. Oh wow, it's actually a calendar for 1993. There you go, that's going to cover me up completely. And on the back, it actually has a giant version of that issue's front cover as well, so that's really cool to have. And again, amazing condition. It doesn't even look like these have ever been opened before. They are completely brand new. And I'll flick through some of the magazines in the B-roll over here as well, so you can have a look at what they look like inside. Like I said, definitely my favourite retro magazine, and I would love to try and get all of them in the future. And I'll save those Switch games for last. Let's move on to another book. This is something that I didn't actually get from the market itself. I actually got this from Waterstones, which is pretty incredible. This is a book that was made by Retro Dodo and Lost in Cult, and this is a handheld history, so a book that is very much right up my street. It's a really nice collection of memories and essays from different people in the community, all about their favourite memories and experiences with retro handhelds, as well as a bunch of photos about all of the different ones as well, and the release dates, and a little bit of information about the creation of the systems too. So highly recommend this book, and it's great that you can actually get it in a physical bookshop as well, unlike a lot of these ones that are online only. So very happy to have this, and I was very excited to find it in the shop too. And finally, let's round this pickups episode out with some more games to end the episode. Of course, I picked up Super Mario RPG. I haven't actually had time to play it yet, but I'm actually going away for work tomorrow for a week to go to a convention. Unfortunately not gaming related, but I do have to do a presentation about some software that I've been building for work, so it might be good, but even so, I can hopefully escape at some point and play Mario RPG, because I will be taking the Switch with me as well. And as well as that, I've got two other games that I'm also going to be taking with me. One of them was very kindly sent over to me by Strictly Limited, and this is called Air Twister. I believe this is a new game by Yu Suzuki, the creator of amazing arcade classics like Outrun and Space Harrier, so I'm really curious to see how this plays. Let me know in the comments whether you've played it before. And finally, a game finally came through the post from Limited Run, and this is Radiant Silvergun, a game that I've never actually properly played before, despite it being one of the best games in the entire shoot-'em-up genre. So again, very much looking forward to playing that one too. So when I go away for work tomorrow, I'm just going to be taking these three games with me, so hopefully I have some time to play on them. And that is it. Thank you so much once again for stopping by for another pickups episode. If you went to the London gaming market, let me know what you picked up down below, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.